It's Monday in South Carolina. Welcome to the Touchdowns podcast presented by Harrison Williamson Cross Country Mortgage. The portal has opened. It's January 5th. That means 3 days ago, January 2nd, the portal has officially opened. There was a lot of action going on prior to the portal opening, and we saw there's a lot of tampering and things were already in motion before this official portal opened on January 2nd. But some news to report out of the portal. We've seen some more offensive linemen, namely Josiah Thompson, enter the portal for the Gamecocks. We've also seen Jayden Gibson, receiver from Oklahoma. He was on an official visit and officially committed to the Gamecocks. That was yesterday, I believe. So the portal giveth and the portal taketh away. One of the things in the new age of college football that you just have to deal with, whether you like it or not. I've aired my displeasure for the portal, but it is what it is, and so we have to attack it. The one thing I'm worried about, Thomas, when we talked about last episode with the offensive linemen that have gone into the portal, you don't get worried because of the performance we had at offensive line, but ultimately you do need depth in that room, and that was one of the things I highlighted that was a worry of mine, was going to be depth and even more guys, and especially a guy like Josiah Thompson, who, while he hasn't played up to his recruiting ranking or likely the NIL allotment that he received his first 2 years in Columbia, he is in the portal. So what does that tell you? Could be two things. Randy Clements comes in and he wants to just completely start fresh and clean house. I think we touched on it a little bit last episode. These guys, they go back and renegotiate at the end of every season. So there's instances where you have a guy that might be asking for too much when it comes to NIL and resources, and ultimately you have to let that person walk. But, I mean, we're pretty much telling everyone to walk. So I don't really know the story, whether it's Clements, whether it's NIL, a combination of the two. I believe that's what it is. And but this is going to be a huge story for South Carolina in the portal, because I'm tracking offensive linemen that are going in and that have interest in South Carolina. I mean, there was an offensive lineman that was supposed to visit us tomorrow and Wednesday, and he's already committed elsewhere, I think, to
Nebraska.
Wisconsin or Nebraska. Thank you. You saw the same guy. So that causes concern for me. But this is a process, and I know this is now with the amount of departures, this has to be the main focus for us in the portal, O-line and D-line. And so what are your thoughts on the ongoings in the portal as it's officially opened up these last couple of days?
Yeah, so we're definitely starting to get into the territory where I don't think anyone was going to be upset about losing O-lineman off of last year's roster based off how he played. But the numbers are getting to the point to where you're starting to get a little nervous, or at least I am, about our ability to, get this many guys back into the program from the portal. And this kind of harkens back to my rant that I gave, when the news about Sterling Lucas broke. I ended up being incorrect about Dylan leaving, but I think a lot of what I was complaining about it still rings true. Trovon Ball has already committed to Texas A&M, so we're going to have to play him next year. Texas A&M is a program that probably wouldn't have taken Trovon if he doesn't in some way make them better, and they are traditionally a team that has a pretty good offensive line. So I don't think that we can sit here and say that Trovon wasn't good. Josiah, while he has underperformed what we thought he might be, I think he is someone that everyone expected us to keep. And so the only thing that can kind of explain why he has now entered the portal is probably that we couldn't agree on a number with him. So this is something that we'll never know. But the thing that I would be curious to know is, like, what are these margins that we're letting these guys walk over? I think it was reported last year that Josiah was making 1.2. Did he want 1.5? Did he want 2 million? Did we offer him, did he want the same? And we were offering him less than 1.2 this year. What was the amount that Trovon wanted that we didn't think he was worth, that we let him leave over? In my opinion, yes, you don't want to get into the habit of just overpaying for everybody, because that's just an inefficient way to run your program, and it adds up quickly. But if we're letting these guys walk over $50,000, $75,000, $100,000, I don't know that, like, I don't know. I wish that the fans had a better understanding of what these margins are. And I don't know if we'll ever get to that. Like, we'll ever be privy to that knowledge. But I definitely am very concerned about our O-line situation. On the bright side, we did get our first commit of this cycle, receiver from Oklahoma. Didn't play much last season. He's a big guy. He's a tall guy. So pairing him with Nick, it's going to be really tough for teams to match up with both of those guys on the field at the same time. So that's exciting. I think that we would have been fine if we didn't take any receivers in the portal. But, I'm always for whenever you have the chance to get the best available players, just take them and improve your roster. We've also had announcements that all three of the linebackers that played significant snaps last season are coming back. So, that was a room that we were all concerned about last offseason because of lack of inexperience and depth. And that looks like it could be a strength for the defense going into next season. So, yeah, I mean, as far as we are concerned, O-line has started to become, a little nerve-wracking, but we'll just see how things continue to take shape as the portal stays open.
Yeah, I mean, on the O-line first, and you bring up, what are we letting these guys walk over? We don't, as fans, have the inside or the insight into those conversations, which sucks. And so we don't know. But as a speculative person, you have to think, when we bring a new coach in, he's evaluating the talent on the existing roster, and then he's working with Beamer to evaluate the potential talent that's going to be in the portal. And so I think that's how you have to negotiate. If Josiah Thompson was making 1.2 million last year, that's sickening, honestly. And if he wanted more than that, fuck him, because he wasn't a productive player. So yes, he could get better and improve, but ultimately, if you can't look yourself in the mirror, if you want to raise after playing like shit, and you can't look yourself in the mirror and say, wow, I'm just going to try and extort. I'm using the word extort because that's essentially what it is in today's day and age. I'm going to try and extort more money out of this college football program despite my performance. fuck him. And I guarantee we can go get someone that's going to be better at left tackle for probably cheaper, because it's not that hard to be better than him. So there's my 2 cents. And again, I think everyone, a lot of fans are like, yeah, you should, wish these guys well. And to me, I don't wish bad things upon Josiah Thompson. I will not be cheering for him next year. I definitely won't be cheering for Trevon Ball. He's going to a team that we're playing. So they can, and more power to them. It is what it is. Like I said, I'm not wishing them bad things to happen to them, but I will absolutely not be cheering for them. Good riddance. You want fans to love you and reciprocate appreciation, then you kind of have to hold up your end of the bargain. You didn't play well. You sucked money out of the program, and then you ditched because you asked for a raise and you didn't get it. Like, to me, that's whatever. So to your point, it's very frightening that we basically have one offensive lineman, Shed Surratt, that played meaningful snaps, and Nolan Hay, excuse me. So 2 offensive linemen, when really you want to have your starting 5 and like 3 rotational guys really on the offensive line, because there's so many injuries. So you really want to have 8 dudes that you feel good about. And right now we have 2. So that's a lot of space to fill. And so that gives you a little bit of fear. But as far as Jayden Gibson goes in the wide receiver room, I'm excited. Like you mentioned, he's a talented player. He's tall. He's going to fit well next to Nick and some of these other guys. Brian Rowe, we had news that he was going to enter the portal a couple of weeks ago. He is officially in the portal. It hasn't been announced that he's signing anywhere else, but I think that room is really up for grabs. And so without a proven, I just like to have a proven guy, especially, and Dre Jacobs is in the portal too, which was another surprise, when really you could argue him or Nick would be the number 1 guy going into next year with the way he played. And he made some big play against Missouri, big plays against Clemson.
Jacobs was technically our leading receiver this year. He had, more receptions and slightly more yards than Nick. But I do think that most Carolina fans and most national pundits would say that Nick is
wide receiver,
wide receiver 1, whether Dre.
Yeah, I mean, he projects to the NFL, and you can't ignore his physical freakness. But I do like bringing in an experienced guy into that room, and hopefully he can make these other guys better. The Murphs and some of these other freshmen, Malik Clark, and who knows if Mazio is going to stick around. I don't know. I would love for Mazio to stick around, but there's some talent in that room, and so I don't mind going to get a proven guy. And hell, if anything, he makes the other guys in the room work harder. So I liked what we did there, and just really, it's going to be, I think, for us, the way it's shaped out is O-line, D-line. Like, that's where we got to focus. We maybe try and snag 1 DB, but like I said, the portal giveth and the portal taketh away. So we're just going to have to deal with what's happening. And again, we have to trust Beamer's plan. This is why he's in charge, and we've been applauding his off season so far. And we have to hope that he continues this momentum in the portal, because he had the head start. So we haven't played a game in a month and a half. So he was, all these guys are talking and agents are talking and there's tampering going on. So he had a head start on who was going to be in the portal. And I know that there was some knowledge that he could, that is the one advantage of not, I mean, it's crazy. Signetti was on he was hosting transfers while they were game prepping for Oregon this week. Like, it's the calendar. It's stupid, and we've talked about it, and we'll talk about it even more in the off season when there's not actual football on and portal news. But it's just crazy to think that he's trying to get ready for a college football semifinal game, and he's hosting guys, and they have already landed 6 guys in the portal for next year. I mean, they got Hoover, the quarterback, and so the portal truly is crazy. It's just a chaos, and so we just got to trust Beamer to manage it. And I think I trust in Beamer to be able to do that because he's done pretty well with it so far. So someone who might not be handling the portal or just not doing it, Dabo Sweeney, they dabbled, but they've had some guys that have gone into the portal, namely on the defensive side of the ball, a couple safeties, and there was confirmation that TJ Moore is coming back to Clemson. So that would have been a big blow. But what about quarterback, Thomas? They're going to trust old baby Josh Allen? They're not going to go in the portal and get a QB?
It would appear that Dabo is committing to the quarterbacks that he has on the roster, much to the dismay of most of Clemson Twitter. I know we didn't have a great season. I know that Clemson beat us, but I have been really, really enjoying the fallout of, Clemson Twitter, after they got dominated by Penn State in the second half of the Pinstripe Bowl. And then just, right from the jump, there were people who were like, I don't mind the Chad Morris hire. Like, that doesn't bother me. Whereas other fans were like, I'm pissed about this. And then there was kind of this little middle ground of people that were like, I'm fine with Chad Morris as long as it means we go get a quarterback in the portal. And now those people are crashing out because, they're not going to do that. I think that I can't believe that this is the route that Dabo has chosen to take. I kind of respect him because he is really, really just digging in and saying, I know what I'm doing. Like, I don't care what y'all think. Like, I did it. I'm going to do it my way. Shout out Frank Sinatra. But I think it's going to be a disaster. I don't know, like, how good or bad the Chad Morris hire would have been, but I don't think that Vizinia is the guy, just mainly because he couldn't overtake Klubnik. That's the most damning thing for me about him. He hasn't had very many opportunities to prove himself one way or the other, but just the fact that Cade was able to maintain his starting job for the past 2 seasons kind of tells me all I need to know about the rest of that quarterback room. So, I think that they will be better on defense because I think Tom Allen is kind of forcing Dabo's hand on that. They already have a DB committed from Penn State who Tom Allen coached when he was their DC. And I think that I think a majority of the portal class will come on the defensive side of the ball. And they have a lot to replace on defense, but I think that, Allen runs a different system than Goodwin or Venables ran. And so by him being able to kind of handpick players from the portal, they may have a better, collection of bodies to play defense the way that Tom Allen wants to play. So I actually think that Clemson's defense might improve from last season to this coming season. But with them committing to this quarterback, I just can't imagine things going well. I am disappointed to see the news that TJ Moore is returning. I think he's probably one of the most beloved players on the team outside of Sammy Brown. I can't think of anybody else that fans really like more. And had he left, I think that, a major meltdown would have ensued. But yeah, I'm going to monitor them just as much as I monitor us, and people might think that's me putting too much stock into Clemson, but I think it's a rivalry, and that's kind of what it's all about. The only thing that I enjoy close to as much as us winning is them losing, and so any good news for us and any bad news for them is something that I want to be aware of. But the fact that they're not taking a portal quarterback is just astonishing to me.
Yeah, you have to say you give Dabo credit for sticking to his guns and not changing. But, I mean, I said it in 2022 when we beat them. I said the Death Star has been destroyed. This program will never be back to this level. And 2022 was, I mean, they were a good team. They were a top 10 team. It was still a 4-team playoff, though. But they could have potentially, with a win against us that year, they could have won the ACC and potentially snuck into the 4-team playoff. They would have made it in a 12-team. But that year, they missed the playoff, and I think that really kind of ended their run. And they had a great run of dominance. And like I said, it was the Death Star. It sucked. I mean, no worse time to be a South Carolina fan than 2014 to 2022. I mean, that was – but I don't think we're ever going to have to relive that era. But like I said, every year since 2022, a decline in wins. I don't know about this hire with Chad Morris.
He's
coached.
He
took 2025 off.
He hasn't been a primary play caller in quite some time.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. If Dabo just thinks he can reignite the flame and capture old magic, but I'm confused by it. But everyone said Garrett Riley was a home run hire, and he was nothing but a failure at Clemson. So everyone, and again, it's always hindsight's 20/20, and you have to see the results. But just based on, I don't think this is a sexy hire, and I think the Clemson fans that like this are also thinking that maybe we can recapture that magic, and it'll be. But to your point, they're not going to go get a quarterback in the portal. I think that's a mistake. They do have some stud. I mean, TJ Moore is a stud. Wesco's a stud. He'll be back from injury. I don't know what they're going to do in their running back room, but and I think they had some seniors on the offensive line. So I just don't really know what Dabo's line of thinking is with hiring Chad Morris, but he's taking a gamble, and like you said, Dabo's going to go out his way, so he's going to live and die by it. And I think Clemson fans are fearful, or not fearful, but I think what they're concerned about is if this doesn't work out, we're stuck in a situation where we have the greatest coach in school history who's a legend, and we're going to build a statue for him, and he's got a $57 million buyout, or we got to fire this guy. Like, this is the guy we're firing. This is the guy we have to separate from, because we're not getting, if this Chad Morris hire doesn't work out and they can't get the defense right, like, that's going to be the predicament they're in. So I think that is when it shakes down to it, some people are going to say, fuck it, fire him. But there's going to be a whole lot of people that say, we can't pay this guy $57 million to walk. Like, he's the greatest coach in school history. He's a Hall of Famer. He's all of these things. And so I do think Dabo feels invincible. And so that's why he also is sticking to his guns, and he's not adapting, because he is quote unquote invincible at that program. And I do think a lot of fans would have a hard time if they have a bad season next year. I think a lot of fans would have a hard time separating from Dabo, but there's going to be the portion of the fan base that gets left.
I think a lot of it has to do with like how bad are we talking? Like when we say bad season, like if they go 6-6 or 7-5 again, and let's say they win one of these little small bowl games, you know, yeah, they're not gonna pay a $57 million buyout to get rid of him after a season like that. Some fans will want to. Some fans will, if they go 6-6 next year, there will be a large portion of the fan base that want that to happen. But I think it would have to be like he loses to everyone. Like he would have to go 2-10 or 3-9 for him to actually get fired. And I don't think they'll be that bad. I would love for them to fall off. You know, so Ross is saying that with how much they've lost, like he doesn't think that Clemson going 4-8 is out of the realm of possibility. And while I would love nothing more for that to be the case, you know, taking a peek at their schedule, or like what I know about their schedule, they have to play at LSU, so their non-conference schedule is a lot more difficult than most ACC teams, and you know, them having to play LSU and us next year is tough for them. They'll win the other two non-conference games. I think
Georgia Southern and Charleston Southern.
Right. I think North Carolina is a dumpster fire. I don't see them losing that game. I think FSU is a dumpster fire. I don't see them losing that game. And then
FSU might get Lagway. He's not good, but
I don't think that's enough. I don't think that would change anything. Like the FSU,
they would at least have some confidence in.
They need to do a case study or, you know, a documentary on what has happened to FSU since they got left out of that 14 playoff when they went 13-0, because it's crazy the fall off. But yeah, I mean, I don't have like an intimate knowledge of every ACC team on Clemson's schedule, but I think outside of UNC and FSU, a lot of those games do become toss-ups, whereas, you know, when Clemson was dominant, they were basically sleepwalking through their ACC schedule. But I think that they could go anywhere from 4-8 to 8-4, and it wouldn't shock me with what I do know that they have returning and what I expect them to get out of the portal for Tom Allen. But yeah, but it's like, but these Clemson fans that are expecting them to be what they were, you know, they won't be happy with, no matter what happens next year. The Clemson fans that want the dominant Clemson that was making the 14 playoff every year, they're not getting that. So that portion of the fan base will never be satisfied again. But, you know, do they have enough power, or are they loud enough to get anything done? That I don't know. I think it's way more likely that, you know, Dabo limps on a couple more years, and rather than him getting fired, the next time there's a big carousel similar to this season, he gets hired away. But
yeah, they got, I mean, at Cal is an interesting game, just cross country road trip. Plus that freshman quarterback for Cal is pretty good, and I think he'll be coming back. I mean, they play Miami next year. But yeah, I mean, the schedule isn't scary. per se, but they got some interesting games on there. But we'll see. It's Dabo's going down his way, and I hope he goes down hard. Big tree fall hard. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We'll continue to monitor the situation there in the upstate and see about how Dabo is going to have them ready. But ultimately, hell, if we would have beat them this year, there might have been some louder chirps for Dabo's head, but
Definitely.
we didn't get the job done. So I would love the opportunity next year, especially with the game being in Clemson, for them to be reeling and us to be surging and just take them out and really put some pressure on that administration to make a decision on Dabo. Or just Dabo might. I mean, he's the type of guy that every single press conference this year, he reminded everyone what they've accomplished the last 10 years. I mean, because he had fans chirping. And so reporters were asking the questions because the fans were chirping. And every single time he reminded everyone, we've won a hell of a lot here. And he has the right to say that. But I could see him just getting so pissed off with the fans' lack of appreciation or his perception of their lack of appreciation. And to your point, he might just go take another job and say, fuck y'all.
That's what I think will happen. I think the buyout is going to remain too high for them to stomach firing him in the next few years. But if he just gets annoyed with the fan base, I mean, he's not going to retire and just opt out of what they owe him. But if he can accept another job where they're paying him a similar amount, I think that's possible.
Yeah. We'll monitor it. All the Clemson fans out there listening, fuck y'all, but keep listening. Those few that do listen, they know who they are. I'm shouting them out. Appreciate the banter and the listening, boys. But let's talk CFP, man. DB Blitz, as always, sponsored by Hughley Insurance. I didn't do well, man. I'm not seeing the board. I was completely wrong about Alabama. They have no mystique. It maybe was Nick Saban and not Alabama because they got steamrolled. Texas Tech, my national championship pick. I mean, great. They have a great defense, and I thought that was what would carry them to the national championship because their defense is so good. And their defense played pretty good, but just a pathetic offensive performance. It just goes to show money can't buy you shit. You still got to win on the field. So Texas Tech, congrats. They went out and gamed the system, and they made it to the playoff. They had a great season. But, I mean, they got smoked when it mattered. And by a team, Oregon surprises me too, because I didn't really necessarily believe too much in Oregon. So I thought that's why I figured with Texas Tech getting them in the second round that they would be able to win that game. And then it's just a duke it out. Defense can win against Indiana, hopefully in a 13-10, kind of like the Big Ten championship game between Indiana and Ohio State. But Texas Tech would come out on top. But yeah, I was wrong on that. I was right on Miami. I did like Miami in this game. I thought 9.5 was way too many points. They won outright by 10. Their D-line completely dominated Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State, looking back at their season, they barely squeaked by Texas and mustered 200 yards. They got physically dominated by Indiana, only scored 10 points. They got physically dominated by Miami. I mean, they were maybe the biggest fluke in the college football this season. Maybe Bama too. I mean, but Bama, I don't know that. I think everyone was considering Ohio State the best team in the country the whole year, um, and they didn't get it done when it mattered. UGA, I mean, that was the best game by far of the four CFP games. We just got, I mean, Trinidad did it to us. Ole Miss just made some awesome clutch plays. I thought Georgia seized momentum with the defensive touchdown. They went up, and I was like, all right, this is Georgia. This is classic Georgia. They're going to put them away in the second half. But Ole Miss, this is a fun. I don't like Ole Miss. I mean, I like them a little bit more now that Lane Kiffin isn't their head coach. But I'm kind of enjoying this Ole Miss run. I mean, this is pretty cool to see, especially with how everything went down and all the bullshit that's still going on, that they're making a run, and the players are they just made a ton of plays in the Sugar Bowl. That was an awesome college football game. And I can't believe, and that kicker just ice in his veins. 250, I think he had a 55 and a 56 yarder. And then obviously the game winner was I think 48 or so. And just all of them were good from 65. So that was a fun game to watch, but obviously UGA does not cover and they do not win. And then I had Iowa Vandy under 45.5. That one was looking good until, and I said it, I texted y'all as soon as it happened, when the punter messed that up and allowed that quick touchdown before the end of it was 7-3, and it was about to be halftime. And just the punter screwed up. Thomas, you were like, you're still on pace. And I technically was, but the floodgates opened and it was game over in the third quarter, pretty much early fourth. So rough season, rough weekend for me, and I will vow to be better. And that's all I have to say. It was no bueno this season.
I went 2-3, lost Texas Tech and Georgia as well. Didn't hit the under in the Georgia Ole Miss game. That game didn't go how I thought it would go at all. I did hit Indiana and Miami. I mean, I continue to have a better record than Beck, but that's not much to hang your hat on. Neither of us are above 500, so if you're a avid listener of the show, you should probably just fade all of our picks blindly, and you'll end up doing okay.
Yeah, all right. I seem to have a bone to pick every episode with college football. Another thing that was brought to my attention was how old Indiana's team is. Like, old as in they're all like 4, 5, 6-year players. They're all like 22. I'm ready for kids to start playing college football again. I'm ready for 5 years to play 4. So that's all I'm going to say. I think that's Cignetti's done a good job. And I think people talk about star ratings, and Indiana doesn't have any. They don't have any 5-star guys, but they got a team full of 22 and 23-year-olds playing against teams of 19 and 20-year-olds. So even if you're a 5-star 19-year-old, I think I like a matchup with a 3-star 22-year-old versus a 5-star 19-year-old sometimes. So, and they got them all over the field. So,
but I mean, a lot of that has to do with like we're still feeling the effects of the COVID ruling,
yeah,
just giving everyone an extra. I mean,
I'm not blaming Indiana for doing
Luke Doty was on our team this year, but
it. Yeah,
like now all of the COVID guys have graduated, and so like the average age of players is going to drastically kind of get back to normal moving
right.
forward.
And all I'm saying is I'm ready for that. I'm 6th and 7th years should not be a term that's muttered in college football, and it's been far too common. So that was just my little. Like I said, I've been my boomerism of the episode, because we got a bunch of boomers playing college football, and that's the problem. They need to move on. This is not a game for adults. This is a game for kids. So I'm ready for that to change in college football. But like I said, Indiana, I'm not blaming them. More power to them, and I think it's been a big key to their success is they have a bunch of older guys with a lot of playing experience. Just everything developed, brain, body. When you're 23, I just think that's a distinct advantage over having kids that are 18, 19, 20. But I digress. Let's talk about Court Cox, presented by Cajun Cousins. Right there, Cajun Cousins. Check out CajunCousins.com. Get some hot sauce. These guys do awesome catering events. Reach out to them via their website. They do awesome work. Court Cox, man, we lost to Vanderbilt. Shout out to Haley Sanchez, who won the ticket giveaway presented by Hughley Insurance. So hopefully she had fun with her friends at the game. The Gamecocks did not come up successful in the SEC opener. I mean, the Fire Lamont collective is getting loud, Thomas. I don't know if he's going to survive past this season. I don't see any light at the tunnel with this team. We're just not a good basketball team. We don't we can't create consistent offense. We're undersized. We're a shooting team that can't shoot. Like there's just all these problems, and it's just not looking good. I don't like the outlook for it, and I think Donati will maybe be more inclined to make a move in basketball. Like I don't know. I'm interested in your thoughts on this. Like as an athletic director, just with more eyes on football, is he more inclined to make his first big splash in basketball as opposed, there was the contingent that wanted to fire Beamer after this season, and all of the things that are going in football from Donati's perspective. Hey, let me put my first stamp on this program in basketball or baseball before hopefully Shane doesn't works himself off of the hot seat.
Yeah.
But having a longer leash with Shane and maybe a shorter leash with Lamont or Paul in baseball, just from a perspective of an AD just not wanting to come in and immediately fire the football coach and immediately put pressure on himself to hire the right guy, right away in football.
I don't know. I mean, I think that it's definitely less pressure to replace the men's basketball coach than to replace the football coach. But I don't think that we should replace anyone for the sake of replacing them. I think, if I would assume that he has a lot more knowledge as to what Lamont is trying to do and what Lamont says he needs to accomplish what he's trying to do than I do. And if Donati believes that he has a chance of accomplishing that, and he can see the light at the end of the tunnel, then that can inform his decision on whether or not he gives Lamont more time. I'm very lukewarm on all sports outside of football. I don't care if we give Lamont more time to figure it out. I don't care if we are fed up with him and fire him this season. I really won't pay attention to anything outside of football until things are going great. In that sense, I am very much a fair weather fan, but I will admit that. I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, I was a day one men's bat. Like, I used to go to the games when we were in school together and, sit with Gamecock Jesus, and it was great. And like I was loud. I participated in a way that a college student should for their alma mater. But when we lost, like, it didn't hurt. It just doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt me the same way.
Yeah.
And I'm just being honest. I can't fake that. Like I was, a senior in high school on our first run to winning the national championship in baseball. And that was a lot of fun to be a part of. I hung on every pitch of the College World Series. It was great. I would much rather South Carolina win things than lose things. But, I don't know who's on our roster right now for baseball. Like, I don't keep track of the off-season recruiting. I just don't follow these other sports in the same way that I follow football. And I don't know that I ever will. Like, even if we became great under Lamont, I would still follow football a lot closer than basketball. That's just kind of the way that I am wired. But to answer your question about Donati, I think that if he has a good candidate in mind, go ahead and pull the trigger. But don't do something just to do it. But again, I don't care that much.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think hell, Ross is our resident baseball guy, and I got some buddies that are big into the baseball program that I can get tidbits of knowledge from, and maybe if they're out there listening to this and they want to come on the show on baseball season, maybe we can make that happen. But yeah, I think I try and follow basketball. I don't follow it religiously as football, but it's something that I think people are interested in basketball. Hell, this team's pretty hard to get into. But ultimately, I think there's something to be said for, how fun that run was in 2017 with Sendarius and Frank and the squad. And hell, even Lamont, I was jazzed up a couple years ago when he, school record for wins, and we're in the tournament and you're gearing up and you're like, could this happen again? So, like, to your point, you obviously want to support, even when we're down. You don't want to be fair weather, but it's just hard to get into a bad team in a sport where it's not your favorite. So there needs to be some better play on the court. And I don't know. I just think with what Frank did following the Final Four run, and it's kind of the same, like, we're trending this, Lamont had this school record for wins. We make the tournament. We don't make a run in the tournament, but it's like, all right, this is something you can build off of, and we've only done this. And so do we just cut the cord on Lamont, whereas we kind of let Frank just keep, we just dragged it on, I think. And I think a lot of fans thought that. And so it'll be interesting to see, but it's definitely, again, we'll talk about it. But it's just a bleak outlook right now for men's basketball. So maybe baseball will be better, but we'll see about that too. But that's going to wrap this episode. As always, we appreciate everyone who listens. Please go like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Follow us over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We will keep putting out our thoughts, and it's the off season, it's talking season, but there's still plenty to talk about, and we'll be doing it somewhat. We've been somewhat inconsistent, I'd say. The holidays kind of threw us for a loop, but we're gonna try and be putting out episodes every week, if not 2 episodes a week. So again, be on the lookout, everyone. Appreciate you listening. As always, go Cox.
Go Cox.